Dear my girl, my princess. Just your liking, your highnessness, your goodnessness. All right, I have done it again. I had no choice. I was forced to do it. I don't know how I was forced to do it, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So what did I do? I give you. Oh boy, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is a Jackson RR5T Randy Rhoads model, Pro Mod. And once again, I use the shout out to the Arts Music Store. These guys are great. This is the 5th model Randy Rhoads had made for him. Now, this guitar has been around since the 90s, 80s, 90s, in different forms. It started off, I think, as a bolt-on. Now it's a neck-through body, and we're going to get into all that. But this guitar, guys, I kid you not, this may possibly be the best guitar I've ever owned. I don't know if it's the best guitar I've ever played, but man, it's good. And I've tried other Pro Mods, and they weren't as good as this. Like, this one is really good. Little caveat with Jackson, it's hit and miss. I love Jackson guitars for so many reasons, but I also, you might get a guitar that was made on the Monday and the Friday and whatever. But when I got this one, I made sure that it was coming to me in the condition it's in now. And it's, I wouldn't say 100 billion% perfect, but you really have to look for the flaws on this guitar. It is almost impossible to find flaws on this guitar. It is absolutely amazing the way they did it. Now, mind you, the stuff that you're seeing here, that's that little, I didn't want to get my fingerprints all through the the gold. This guitar, guys, I've had a hard time not playing this guitar. You will get to hear the sound. There's going to be mostly a talking video of what it is. So what was I don't even know where to start. It is so good. So it started 5 days ago, 6 days ago. Anyway, these guitars are kind of hard to get. It's not hard to get a Jackson Flying V, but this Jackson Flying V is a little bit difficult to get because they can't keep them in stock usually when they get them. And this amazingly was at that store for I've never been into that store, but it was there for probably about 3 weeks before I was able to clear off my credit card enough to max out my credit card with it. But what you're looking at is a Randy Rhoads Pro Mod, 22 fret, RR5T. Now the T stands for two-pneumatic bridge, not tremolo, although there is a tremolo version of this guitar. It is 22 frets. It is not a handicap. I prefer 24 frets, sure, but there are advantages. It'll be another video for another time of why you would actually want a 22 fret guitar over a 24. It has to do with the spacing of the pickups. You get a little bit more of a dynamic, sculpted kind of sound when you're on the cleans because the pickups can get spread out a little bit further. And it also, anyway, another video for another time. So what you got, fixed bridge version. I always wanted a fixed bridge version of a Jackson Flying V, Rhoads V. And I've also, I do have the JS32 still with the Floyd Rose on it. I'm not saying there's not going to be a third Jackson Flying V, but I think, guys, I'm a Flying V guy. I'm an SG guy and a Flying V guy. Two like oddball shapes that are just so cool. Let's get into it. Okay, so alder body, very, very, very awesome tone wood. If you don't believe in tone woods, my argument is you can't hear the difference. Don't worry about it. But this thing rivals my Hammer Diablo that I used to have years ago, and it had an alder body, and it just brings me back to that chunky low end with that almost sculpted like mid with that brilliant high. It's a bright sounding guitar. It's not a dark sounding guitar. It's a brighter sounding guitar, but it's got an ebony fingerboard, maple neck, 2 graphite rods in there plus your truss rod. So all the Jacksons over say $900 have the reinforced graphite reinforced necks. The JS32 doesn't have it, but I've had my JS32 for since 2015. It is now 2022, 7 years. Can't believe it. Where does the time go? And it's never been a problem. Beautiful inlays on here. I wish there was a little bit more light. You could see the inlays they're very, very nice inlays. Very nice work done on it. This guitar is just beautiful. But the ebony fingerboard, super silky smooth. Fretwork, so far, it's not stellar fretwork on it. My Gibsons have better fretwork, hands down. But yet I can't find a single dead fret on this guitar, unlike my other Jackson, which, you know, frets out a little early. But other than that, same frets, jumbo frets. C-shaped neck. It's not as thin as the my JS32 neck. It's a little bit thicker than that, but it's still pretty thin. It's like Ola Anglin said when he did the Japanese version. This is the Indonesian version, which I actually prefer. The only main difference is number one from the Japanese model is basically the neck is actually this, you know, one color the whole way through. You've got locking tuners on the Japanese one. Everything else is pretty much the same, and it's $3,500 more. So I'll stick with this. This is fine. This guitar came in at Canadian. These are Canadian prices. $1,279.99. So, and with tax and all, was just a little under $1,600. The shipping was free, and it got here minus the weekend. 4 days once again. These guys are great. The horns are perfect on it. So it arrived in the actual Flying V boxes, which is almost literally the size of the table. It's like so much padding on it. So I kept the box. You've got two Seymour Duncan distortions in there. These are the SH6 and the SH6N. I believe that's what I read. Alder body, like I said, neck through construction. Or set neck. I believe this one's neck through construction. We'll get it on the backside here. You just don't want to bang it. You got nice strap lock buttons. I haven't put a strap on this yet. Problem with a black guitar, especially a high gloss black guitar like this, touch it once, the fingerprints are eternal on it. So yeah, it's a C-shaped neck. It's really thin. Not really thin. It's thin. Like Ola Anglin said, it's thin. This is a shredder's wet dream. This thing, you need not want with this thing. Pretty simple guitar, three-way toggle, tone, volume. These tone and volumes are a lot more, like on my JS32, you gotta like really crank them, they're really stiff. I kind of prefer that because they stay locked in one position, but I played it for a while now, and they don't seem to back off while you're playing, because that's always been a problem when I play live, is tones and volumes. Somehow they get moved around when you jump around. I don't know how, but it's just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful guitar. I can't say enough of it. They're probably seen some fingerprints on it, but it's light because it's an alder body. So alder versus mahogany. Mahogany, lots of low end, lots of mid range, and you know, a little bit on the high. Alder, not quite as much low end as on you typically get on mahogany, but more of a lower mid, so it's not so out front, but a much more of a high. And I find alder is probably the clearest sounding wood you can get. So the louder you go, you don't get that overblown kind of overdriven sound, nasally sound. It just stays clear no matter how loud you go with it. And punchy, 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 punchy. Yeah, it's like Mike Tyson type punchiness. This guitar is super, super punchy. When you hear it, like it'll never sound as good on that side of the camera as it sounds on my side of the camera, but it does sound really good. How am I doing for time? There's just so much to say about this guitar. It is really, really good. I've only had it now 3 days, 3 days, and I'm just blown away how good it is. Now that said, I tried another one that I wasn't really that particular on. It was the Blue Pro Mod with the they put out a couple of years ago. It was $1,100, but it had the basswood body. It sounded good. It did sound good, and pretty much played the same. But it didn't sound like this. This thing just sounds so good. The pickups have a lot to do with it. Duncans, you can't go wrong with the Duncans. They're great for metal. They're great for a bright, chunky kind of sound. But they're more of they're not like a death metal pickup, really dark and whatever. They're more, punch in the face kind of Van Halen-ish, thrash metal. Great for, if you want to play Megadeth, this is the guitar you want. If you want to play, Van Halen, you can get away with this guitar for sure. It has that kind of to it. You want to play deathcore, you might want something a little darker sounding, because this guitar is really aggressive sounding. I'll make a second video. I'll talk about how this is the angriest sounding guitar I think I've ever owned.